I was put in the center as a thief.
Wow.
I'm trying not to cry.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
There's tissue paper beside you over there.
Now, when I think about it, I just feel like going to squeeze his neck. What were you thinking?
Your uncle's neck, right?
Yes. When you're much older, you feel the shame because you start to ask questions around, did I offer myself up?
Yeah.
Did I should have won this? Did I allow it? Or did I even enjoy it? You know, when you start to question, what was the feeling for, I was 8, 9. I remember I wasn't 10. When I got to recognize my little brother, I felt it was more special. And I felt I wasn't special because when I showed up, they were not even looking for me.
Oh, wow.
They were expecting a boy or they wanted a boy and I showed up.
Was it that they told you that or?
They never told me that.
But
I just felt how he was treated told me that. So as a parent now, it's not just about the things you say to your children. It's also about the things you do not say.
No judgment here, just a friendly ear. Tune in every day, bring your worries near. Life couch show, let the heartbeats flow. With Seedy, we heal and grow. Life on the couch with Seedy. Talk it all out, set your mind free. Life on the couch, stories we share. Seedy's there.
Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Life Couch with Seedy. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And today, we will be discussing about how childhood trauma can affect who you become later in life. My guest, beautiful, intelligent, and my colleague in the HR industry, you know, we'll be talking about childhood experiences and how she was able to pull through to become successful today. We'll talk about resilience, talk about determination, talk about being hardworking. You know, these things don't jump at you. You have to work hard for it and be determined. And I will introduce my guest, Kemi Seedy. And for the record, she's the pastor of my church. So, Kemi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for saying yes.
It's a pleasure to be here. I've been following this event. I'm sure you know I follow. YouTube is always notifying me when so it's such a privilege to be here. My name is Kemi Seedy. I usually introduce myself as HR professional by day, real estate agent by night and weekends. I'm pastor all day, every day. That is me in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. And we cannot wait to listen to everything that you have to say. At least I have heard some of her stories and these stories are inspiring. And I believe that today someone will go home with something good. And remember, on this show, we talk about people's experiences. We talk about people's, stories, just so that someone out there who's going through whatever understands that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You're not alone. We all have shared experiences of life struggles. You know, no two struggle is the same, but know that we're all in this together and there is hope at the end of the day. All right. So, first question is, can you tell us about your childhood and your relationship with your mother as a single parent?
My childhood is interesting. I usually would describe my childhood to be in two parts, pre and post my father's death, because it's like light and day.
Wow.
Before I lost my father, I lost my father at the age of 7. And before then, it was a commissioner.
Oh, nice.
We were quite comfortable. So I knew life earlier on to be very comfortable. I had everything I needed type of thing. And then he died. And then we went into another phase entirely, which was not so much, not enough. And we all had to fend for ourselves.
Can imagine.
Type of thing. So my childhood was very...
How old were you then?
I was 7 when my father died.
At least Old enough to know that, okay, there is a difference.
Yeah, I was old enough to know there was a difference, even though I didn't quite understand the ramification of death as a concept.
Okay.
I knew people were crying. I knew it was something sad, but I just did not understand what it was until when I needed something and I couldn't get it. Or when mom had to then find a job because she was a teacher. And so everything was, she was working at her own pace, but then she had to double up and triple up. So we no longer used to see her. Yeah, exactly. So I knew that, okay, looks like what happened has changed our lives. So that was the biggest piece of my childhood. And of course, because now living in a single parent family meant that my mom was not home most of the time, and then we had these exposures. I had my share of abuse because of that, because there was no adult around, and there was just opportunity for that to happen. So I really would say my childhood had its own share of its traumas, and I'm happy to share how I was able to walk through those seasons of my life. But that's the main highlight of my childhood.
Okay, just so that people understand the depth of, I don't want to say trauma, but the depth of things that happened to you. Are you able to talk about a few of them? For example, abuse, or maybe neglect, or, what were those things that happened in your childhood that are significant to who you are right now?
My introvertedness, I honestly think I'm more extroverted in my mind than I truly am. But I think those boundaries came from low self-esteem, which I think came as a result of thinking, now that I don't have a father, I don't have enough. We don't have clothes. We don't get Christmas clothes. As a child, I cannot remember having a doll.
Wow.
Every baby girl that I know has a doll, has a Barbie, has a stuffy. I can't remember having one.
Wow.
So thinking about my 5-year-old self, I knew I didn't have what others had. And that impacted how I showed up to the world.
Yeah.
And being able to give expression to my thoughts, my feelings, I didn't have that opportunity because the environment didn't give me that. And also, significant to what we're talking about, I'm a fourth of 5 children. And the fourth girl. So in my mind, when I got to recognize my little brother, I felt it was more special. And I felt I wasn't special because when I showed up, they were not even looking for me.
Oh, wow.
They were expecting a boy, or they wanted a boy, and I showed up.
Was it that they told you that? Or
they never told me that. I just felt how he was treated told me that. So as a parent now, it's not just about the things you say to your children. It's also about the things you do not say. So for me, I thought for me to have showed up as the fourth girl, and this boy that came after me, he's been treated significantly different. Wow. I felt, okay, you know what? They weren't even expecting you. It was, you were meant to be a boy, essentially. Wow. So all of those things then funneled into, I think, my personality, how I express myself, and how I was able to, what I now consider to be some trauma that I carried into my adulthood and I had to deal with.
Okay. Do you mind sharing the abuse story?
Yeah. So at some point in our lives, in my home, we had an uncle that came around. Please, parents, beware of family members. We get very comfortable because they are family, but honestly,
things happen.
And a lot of people that I've spoken to about abuse always have a family member as the abuser, because those are the people we are comfortable with. Yeah. Those are the people you leave your children with. I know. And that was how it started. And now when I think about it, I just feel like going to squeeze his neck. What were you thinking?
Your uncle's neck, right?
Yes. I'm like,
I should tell you that it happened to me as well. An uncle.
Uncles,
I never told my dad but I told my mom recently, just a few years ago, well, maybe just last year or something. It was something I never discussed with anyone because it's shame.
Yes.
But but then you did understand it. But now the anger I feel, in fact, I don't want to see the person. So I understand.
Yeah.
I understand what you mean.
The shame, when you're much older, you feel the shame because you start to ask questions around, did I offer myself up?
Yeah.
Did I, maybe I should have won this. Did I allow it? Or did I even enjoy it? When you start to question, what was the feeling for, I was 8, 9. I remember I wasn't 10. I knew because I knew.
I don't even think I was 9. I must have been like 6 or 7. I don't, it's just hazy. But I remember those things and I get angry, right? So I feel you. I just wanted us to talk about it because so many people, like you said.
Yes.
Especially in our communal Nigeria.
Right.
Where people come to live with you.
Yeah. Your cousins will live with you, your uncles, aunties. I've also had even the boy child. Most boys, there was a forum my husband and I were in, and boys were sharing their experiences. The first time they ever had sex was a neighbor, was an auntie, was a cousin.
Or house help.
So everybody has had their share of this being exposed to their immediate community that ended up damaging them. And I was just one of those statistics as well. I feel, looking back, and of course, having gone through therapy, understanding God and my person in God, now looking back, what I was looking for, if I think about my 8-year-old self that didn't have a father, I was hoping that this uncle would be that father, So I think those are part of the things you need to unpack as a person. I usually joke sometimes, like, I know I had daddy issues because I didn't have a dad, right? So if you have daddy issues, you can find help. And there are unhealthy ways. And those were part of the things that exposed me to that trauma. Boy, I was a child when I look back. But those are the things you need to be mindful of. If you are a single parent, if you have a girl child, boy child, you need to help them navigate. You need to put them in spaces, in healthy relationships to help them fill those gaps.
Okay, you spoke a little bit about self-esteem. So how were you able to, you said it was negative. How were you able to transform that into being who you are today, into being confident about yourself today?
I cannot talk about my transition without talking about my face. My face is the beginning of everything. After, of course, I went through the abuse and all of those things. The uncle moved out. And
Did you ever tell your parents, your mom?
I told my
I should have asked you that.
But I never told my mom.
Okay, did it happen to them as well? You had 4 sisters?
Yes.
Or 3?
I have 3 sisters.
3, okay.
4 girls.
4 girls. Did you guys ever discuss it?
Because I didn't tell them until last year or 2 years.
Oh, wow. Well, it never happened to them.
I don't even know. Because I was too scared of the ramification. What does that even mean for everybody around me? The way we're so communal that everybody will like, your child has come to spoil the family, type of thing. So it was, I held it on for so long. And the thing about negative energy or keeping fear, anxiety, and all of that inside is it starts to eat you up.
Yeah.
There has to be an outlet for all of those emotions. So until I went to therapy, which was about 3 years ago, that was when I knew I needed to put words into the things I had felt and how it is impacting my worldview, and that was when I got the power, the strength to talk to my siblings, to say, guys, can you believe this happened? I can't even stand him. But it was such healing, just being able to know that somebody knows this, letting that anxiety go, letting that toxicity go, and also walking through forgiveness. Because like I said, I used to be just hearing the name, it just gives me
Cringe.
I just cringe.
What did your
hearing the
mom do when she
name.
heard?
I'm not sure if my mom has heard actually.
Oh, okay. You didn't tell her yet.
I
Oh,
didn't-
you were saying
I told
that
my
if
siblings.
she hears it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I told my siblings, but I didn't tell my mom. I don't know if she hears, but I'm sure she would hear.
Eventually.
I know she's into YouTube and calls.
I haven't even told my siblings, but I know I mentioned it to my mom because my daughter is with her right now, and this person's son was around.
No way.
I'm like, Mommy.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking because sometimes I'm telling her stuff and she doesn't take it seriously. I'm like, this is why I'm saying this. And she just kept quiet. She hasn't said anything since then about it or whatever, but I'm like, and I mean it. Do not leave my daughter with this guy.
Yeah.
I don't know the son, but I don't check. You know.
I think for our parents, like I said, now that I'm older, I'm able to give them grace. Grace because they didn't have the exposure we have. They weren't born into communities and settings that empowered them. And and in my own instance, she just had to keep the lights on. The priority is to get us fed and to go to school. So how can she be home? That's the reality, right? So now I'm able to offer them grace to say, you know what, you did the best you could. And unfortunately, it didn't exactly, it's not your fault. It's just this predator that we all did not know was a predator at the time, right? So if I look back, would I have wanted a better childhood? Yes. But do I regret it? No. Because I think it has made me, one, more empathetic towards people, towards humans in general. I believe everyone is carrying things in their heart that they can't even tell. So I have that empathy and I'm able to offer that. So part of the reasons why I decided I wanted to go into HR was also because of that.
Wow,
Isn't that interesting? You would have said you should have studied law, right? But I wanted a place, I wanted a career that would allow me to make decisions that impact people's lives directly. If you offer someone a job, you have impacted an entire generation.
Yep.
There's a livelihood there. And I also wanted to be able to advocate for them. HR is a lot of advocacy for the manager, for the people. And I feel that empathy came from my background and knowing that people are in places and spaces they didn't choose. But that is what life has doled them. And they just need that extra help, that extra push
to navigate
life. Yes.
I don't know why I have goosebumps right now, but so moving on to the esteem question, how did you transition from no self-esteem? I know you said faith is part of this, but walk us through that journey.
My interesting secondary school story also that is very pivotal to...
What secondary school did you attend?
I
So
went
your
to-
people can be...
I went to FGGC, or your Federal Government Girls College, or your...
my sister's
Yay.
school. I went to Federal Government Girls College, Akure. Nice. Okay, go on.
So I remember going to secondary school then was still the timid, small girl that is leaving home like all of our siblings were. And the school I went to had two of my siblings. So it was really good. Lucky me, right? So it was good. But at some point where all of those things caught up with me, I remember a very pivotal story I'll tell. In my GS2, my provision wasn't, what we used to call provision was just, what do you call it? How do I describe it?
It's a
grocery,
beverage, some kind of
meals,
snacks and things like that.
And snacks. So I didn't have enough. Mine never looked like the rest of them because everything I got, my mom had to split in 4 ways or 5 ways. So at some point, we didn't have enough. And it was a week to visiting day. Usually you would have depleted everything, right? So I was very hungry. I can never forget. I was very hungry. And I stole Garri's cassava flakes from a lady. Her name is Damola Falai. If she's listening, I'm so sorry. Damola Folayan had her parents living in the same city or young town, so they see her more often. So she had, while the rest of us did not have. But I took Damola Afolayan's garri and I drank it. So, of course, the thing blew out.
Wow.
And I was put in the center as a thief.
Wow.
It was, I'm trying not to cry.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
There's tissue paper beside you over there.
So,
Take your time.
So it was, of course, my siblings were ashamed. Everybody was like, what's happening? She was stolen. It's garri.
Oh my God.
You know, it was, but what made it very pivotal for me is, of course, my siblings didn't tell because they didn't want to hurt my mom. But in the same school, I had a cousin. The cousin told a mother. A mother called my mother.
Wow.
That, and you know, the way they say it in our dialect even makes it worse. Like, Mbo. They said, Onwenjali. And my mom cried. She was hurt because she knew she was doing everything, right, that she could do.
See, you're making me cry. Oh my God.
She was 37, 38 with 5 children. So I knew she was doing everything, right? At least now I know. So she was really hurt. And when I got home, she beat me. Silly. As in, she beat me.
With anger, frustration, disappointment.
Everything. And now when I remember how now I can't take what belongs to you. Yeah, it's a good virtue. I shouldn't be taking anything that belongs to somebody else, right? But then I remember looking back, that was pivotal for me. One, I knew I shouldn't take what doesn't belong to me, but I also experienced shame. Shame of not having. And shame of not having was even heavier than the fact that
everybody came.
Exactly. You know, whenever I remember the scripture, you know, the scripture that says the woman that was caught in adultery and she was being stoned, and Jesus came and said, who amongst you has never done this? Be the first to show this. That was my sin. Honestly, that was my sin. I felt that much shame. So run off from that. Of course, my mom put me in shape with a rod.
Resets it.
Resets me to make sure I don't ever take what doesn't belong to anybody. But then I was bent over. And I'm leading into another scripture of that woman that was bent over for years. I was bent over in shame, of course, I didn't have enough. And also I had friends, classmates that saw me as a thief.
And those things, because I went to a boarding school. It will stay
follow
with you. Like it's like a stamp. They'll say Kemi Seedy, you know. Even to bedwets. You remember those days? I don't know how it was in your school.
Oh my God. They just never...
They never forget.
And they were all children too. But they were we were just never taught how to empathize with one another.
Sure.
When I look back, I'm like, these were children bullying other children, calling them names and things like that. So all of those things. Then when I got to my senior secondary school was when I first made a decision to follow Jesus. It was at the school chapel. I raised my hand and it was just, you know what, anything that can help me, that can just relieve me, you know, of all the things I was carrying in my mind, in my emotions. So that was the first time I ever encountered the person of Jesus. And then I started to channel my energy into things I thought I was that could change my narrative. I joined the school athletic team. I joined. I was just looking for things that would change my name. So I did athletics. I think I did it well. I represented Oyo State at the time.
Nice.
I put myself 100 out. Now I can't say I'm an athlete. I can't run to save my life. But I just wanted a new name. And that was the beginning of moving myself from Kemi, the one that stole garri and was shamed that I had been abused, that doesn't have enough. And I started to go to, you know what, it feels good to be great at something. It feels good to be called out at an assembly to collect a medal.
Yeah.
And gradually, I just thought, you know what, let me start doing the things that I think I'm good at. And that was the beginning of my self-esteem journey.
And winning.
Yeah.
How was university for you?
So university, things were getting better at the time because, like I said, I had started to discover the things I was great at. I was starting to, and all of these things, to God be the glory, but I cannot say it was one human that said, okay, maybe you should do this. And I know it's not everyone, and I acknowledge that have that sense to just focus on what they are great at, to pull them out of situations. But I just thought, and that was the beginning.
I'll just chip something in. Now, listening to, we call her PK. And then, I don't know, maybe because of tradition, it's tough for me to even call you Kemi. And because she's my pastor. Anyways, it's not too late. And it's not, forget that this happened to you in secondary school. It's not too late for you. You could be in your 30s. You could be in your 40s. Absolutely. It might be the time that you realize, okay, let me focus on that. Or you find yourself, like, these are the things that I'm good at. Or let me, just focus on these things and dwell on them. Because if you keep dwelling on the things that you're, not strong at, it's a problem. It affects you. I just wanted to chip that in. Forget that this happened to her in secondary school. It could be any time for you. Yeah. And they said, I was telling someone, I see this person also sings, and they were like, oh, I'm over 40. When will I be popular? I'm like, Sissy Winders that I've been singing didn't get her Grammy until after she was 50. Right. Anyway, I just wanted to check that. Sorry. I hope I haven't.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I like that because it's, aside telling my story, I think it's okay for people to just take to not just mirror what I'm saying with their lives and life experiences, but also to know that wherever they had now, that is the moment. That is now for you. Yeah. That is your chapter. So if you are bent over like I was, in shame and regret and pain and
goosebumps again, I don't want to cry.
All of that. Today is the day. And I'm happy that I'm able to share my story because I've come a long way, I can tell you. So when I got to secondary school, to go back to my story, I did pre-degree. So I was
university?
Yeah, in university. I did a pre-degree program before going into my full-time degree. So I studied chemical engineering.
So, nice.
Because I love math. I still love math. My kids know I love math. And somehow I just thought that was enough.
Can't say the same. I passed, but I didn't love it. Okay.
And somehow I just thought, okay, math. Looking back, I'm like, that's not a good enough reason. But anyway, and I just looked around my house. I'm like, there's no engineer in this house, so I'll be the engineer. But my university was a bit better. I met a friend that took me to fellowship, which was good. And I joined the choir. Don't tell me to sing, please.
Yay! We'll do a number before you go today.
So, and somehow, I think the most important piece of that puzzle for me is it put the right people in my life. If I had not followed Tayo Agbabiaka, now Anifowoshe, God bless you. If I had not followed her or gone with her to fellowship and had friends in church and had that association, I would have still been in limbo, So putting those people around me was the beginning of self-discovery.
And the fellowship where PT was at Abi?
No.
Right?
The initial fellowship I attended was last CF.
Oh, okay.
And then when I got to year one, and I went to Daystar Campus Fellowship, that was where I met him. Met my husband.
See the smile. A different kind. Anyways. Okay, so how did you transition from university into finding your first job?
Yeah, so as at my third year in chemical engineering, I knew I was in the wrong place. That was when I knew that, oh my God.
Why though?
Why?
Because were you enjoying the courses?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I knew engineering was not just about maths. I thought if I loved math, I would survive. I would love chemical engineering. And I just thought, okay, physics is just application of math. But it wasn't. There was so much more in there that were not my favorite things to do. My physics wasn't great, but my math was. So I just thought my math would rub off on my feet. Anyway, don't ask me how I came up with that theory. But that was what was happening. So my third year, I knew, oh my God, this is not where I should be. And I dare not tell my mother. Yeah, I'd better finish school. So I knew either way, I'm going to finish this engineering. It's just how to navigate as God would have it. And now, in retrospect, I knew it was God. For some strange reason, somebody asked me to be an MC at the engineering, like the association. They had like a party, those end of the year party or something, that I should be the MC. I'm like, okay, I can do that. It's just to tell people what to do at the party. So I have a feeling I did a good job, because after the student union government president came to meet me, that they wanted to do interviews for the people that applied to be presidents and student union government. And I was like, interview, okay, what am I supposed to do? And they were like, you ask them some questions to see if they're suitable for that. And that was it. That was the beginning of HR for me. Year 3, interviewing those that are going to become student union government presidents and treasurer and all of that. When I was done with those interviews, I'm like, I can get used to this. It was nice being, to be honest, it was nice, being in position of power, to be able to determine who gets it. It was such a good feeling. Now I'm like, Kemi, check it. But it was a good feeling. And at the same time, I think it was also the part of the human interaction, the level of interaction I went into it. I really loved it, which engineering wouldn't have given me. So it was my third year. I decided that I was going to look for something else. I honestly went to search. I never knew there was something called HR.
I feel you. I know.
I never knew. Well, maybe we're that old.
That's it. We were not exposed. I always say things like that. We're not. Then in Nigeria, if you're not doctor, lawyer, whatever, you're doing the sciences or some other things, we're not exposed to the array of other things that you can do.
I agree. 100%.
So I feel you. And I know a lot of Nigerians understand.
Yeah.
I think in Unilag, we had IRPM. That's what was closer. Closest. International relations or industrial relations and personnel management. That's the closest to HR.
Yes.
I do not know what they had in LASU, but
for me, what I did was to Google. You say Google then. So I went to Cyber Cafe and I was just trying to find people that do, as simple as that, people that do interviews. Wow. That was how I was like, oh, there's something called HR. And I kept it in my palm. That I'll finish this engineering and I'll figure out how to get into HR. So that was my transition. So I never worked a day as an engineer. I did IT though. In Guinness.
Like internship,
at Guinness as a quality control specialist. So I was always with beer and things like that. But that was pretty much it. The moment I was done, I had to do my NYSC and I had to, so I found a job in an HR consulting organization and that was it.
So, but did you do anything to get you qualified for that job?
No, because I was just a copper.
Oh, right.
So, which is intern. I think that would be my advice if you are seeking any career advice, if it's worth anything. If it is something you want to do, be willing to do it, even if it's for free. So as an intern back home, as a youth copper, most organizations don't have barriers or standards for the people they want to hire as an intern, provided they are not paying you. The bar is very low. They don't have high expectations. You can get your career started that way. And that was how I got my career started. It was not threatening, but then I was getting the experience.
Yeah. I know you spoke about creating boundaries that stemmed out of the things that happened when you were younger. How did these experiences shape who you are today, or your relationships, and even in marriage?
Do we want to start?
Let's start, but make it brief.
I think let me just go really straight and direct. I think part of the things my growing up has done for me is one that's created that grit because I know I don't ever want to feel what I felt. I don't want my children to ever feel what I felt. So if it means, I don't know how much you know me, I can do anything. If I'm going to get paid for it and I have the time and the resource, I will do it. And that's because I want to be able to give to my children, give to my family what I did not have. So it created that version of me that is very strong and that is very hardworking. So it has shaped my stance and it has colored my lens to life to say anything I want. So even before I got married, I've never seen a man as a way out or a provider. Apologies to men. But if I want it, the question to me is, how do I get it? What do I need to do to get it? Not, hand it to me. Because I was raised in a way that nobody was handing anything to my mother. Nobody was giving her anything. And I saw it. And it's about what women see. Sorry, it's about what children see. So for me, that is the first time I was in therapy. I'd like to talk about it a little bit. The first time I was in therapy, my first sit down with my therapist, she knew I was raised in a single parent house. I'm telling you. As in, I had to ask, how did you know? She said, people like you that were raised, you don't lean on people. You don't accept help. You feel you can because you will. Because that is how you've been raised. That is what you saw. The negative side of that, though, is you don't want a spouse that doesn't even want you, that doesn't need you, because they can figure it out on their own and they can do life with or without you. So when I got married, those were the negative pieces of my story. So I'm not just telling a story that it is all, and Jesus came through. No, all of that remnant kept following me. And we now had to deal with that on its own. Because if you are in a marriage where your spouse doesn't need you, and life can happen with or without them, then they don't feel loved. Then they don't feel special. They don't feel needed. Then that's a whole kettle of fish. So when in the earlier parts of our marriage, I was raised to do it, be it, go for it, find it.
Boss lady.
You get. So, and my husband was like, hello, I'm here. And I'm like, okay, I know you're there. So we had to walk through that patch to say, you know what, I need you. And for the strong women out there, it's okay to say you need help. And it's okay to accept it, because now that I accept it, I'm like, so life can be this sweet. Oh my God.
I'll just chip in that. I was maybe listening to something on Instagram. It's not everything I digest. Sometimes when I hear these things, I process them to see. It was just saying that men like to be needed. Just saying, if you're independent, sometimes give room for them. Even if it's something you can do, you can climb the light bulb. Just wait and, that light bulb is, help me do it. That it gives them, there's a man behind here. I don't know if he's nodding to that or not. Just gives them this, okay, I'm protecting my woman kind of thing. Like, even if you're independent, try, because I have grown to be very independent as well. And I was thinking about this. I said, okay, because if I ask you to do it, you're not once, twice, ask anybody, I'll go and carry drum, I'm doing it by myself. But now I'm thinking, so to what you just agree with what you're talking about, it's men like to feel needed and wanted. I don't know about women.
Yes.
Maybe we do too in a
But in a
different
different
way.
way,
Yes.
yes.
But, men want to be seen as, okay, I'm doing this for my family, for my woman or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just saying in a nutshell that all of my life's experiences dovetails into who I am. Empathy is one of them. Advocacy is another. Also making sure that the people are around me and the children around me. Part of the things I really love also is working in the junior church. I also love making sure they feel protected and seen and all of those things, because that was my little self wanted those things and I didn't get those. So who I am today is reflective of those experiences. And and I'm still carrying fragments of some of those, and I'm walking through those, because when I see it, I recognize it, because now I'm older, I've been to therapy, I'm aware. So when I see it come through, I'm like, this is it.
Maybe I should go for therapy.
Yeah, you should. And honestly, I'm advocating for therapy here. Therapy is not only for people that have mental health. When we were raised, they would say people that is psychiatry is different from therapy. Therapy is just, they help you to unpack your thoughts, your feelings, and sometimes even your subconscious. That's the beautiful thing. Why you think the way you think. They help you to put them in like boxes so that you can recognize them. Like me, when I see the fragments, I know, okay, the insecurity, when I see it, when I look into the mirror and I recognize it. So therapy helps you to do that. And you're able to then walk through life recognizing and doing the right things, or doing the exact opposite, just so you can counter that feeling.
Have you faced any challenges in parenthood that you think can mirror your upbringing?
That's powerful. As a parent, I interestingly have 2 boys. So in my mind, I don't have the exact mirror to share with my boys, because they are boys. However, I have the fears. The fears of, how do I make sure that they don't come out broken like me? Or they don't come out needing therapy or needing or having mommy issues, because I wasn't there. So those are the ways in which I project on them. So I try to be all over them, into their business and everything. And I have a teenager now that is like, mommy, back off, like back off, So I think my fears, at some point I had to address it, because I just don't want to run off into another story, but I knew it was because of my upbringing that I was parenting that way, because I just didn't want them to be broken. And so I overdid it. And I had to back off. And somehow my husband balances me out. So a lot of times just be like, babes, don't worry, I got this. Don't worry. before you squeeze these children. And I know it's just...
And that's why it's good that maybe you have someone who has a different background, working with you on this.
Yes.
What strategies do you use to foster a healthy self-esteem in the lives of your children? I don't know. I hope I put that right. How do you help them build self-esteem?
Yeah. So I
really considering your background.
Yeah, considering my background, what I've pledged to them, and I've told them even verbally, is whatever you choose to do, whoever you choose to become, I'm with you 101%. And it is me trying to tell them that I am not going to compel them, and I'm not going to break them, so to speak. So one, vocalizing the love. I can't remember my parent telling me I love you. So, and as simple as those words are, they are weighty, especially...
Seemingly simple.
Yeah.
They're powerful.
Very small words.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So now I tell them I love them. I love you. Like every single time because I feel...
And you do.
It's-
So why not say it, right?
Exactly, right? So every single time I make sure I am fueling them. I'm telling them I love them. And also ensuring that their personalities is still separate and they're being treated as two different individuals. Because self-esteem also comes from home, right? Like I told you, I felt the fact that I came forth.
I think it's majorly from home.
Yeah, the fact that I thought I came forth and someone is being treated differently impacted me. Not because they were treating me badly, but because they were treating someone better. Do you understand?
Yeah,
So
I do.
I made sure, or I tried to make sure that everyone has their shining moment. When one is shining, we all gather together and celebrate and make sure they know we love them. We are proud of them. When the other person is shining, we do the same thing. So the younger one at some point would say, oh, mommy, when the brother is shining, why are you not saying I am good too? Like, no, it's your brother's turn. He's doing great and we need to celebrate him.
Focus on him.
Yeah, focus on him. Shine the spotlight when they need
That
to.
is so, especially, and you have two boys, but I always tell my friends or people who have girls, it's important that you tell your child you're beautiful. I love you. I won't mention, but one of my friends, I saw the chat that the dad sent to her. Like, be my beautiful girl. I don't remember my dad tell me, even, I love you, you're saying, even now when I say I love you, just say, hey, okay, well, even if my mom has changed, now when I say I love you, hey, I love you too, but my dad, even if you hug him, he'll just stand there, kind of thing. Why are people like this? It's not like you hate the child. So it's so tough for them to express. A girl child, especially, I'm not saying boy children don't need it.
Yeah, girls
But a girl child, because like you said, maybe you had daddy issues, maybe this. Girls battle a lot of, maybe by tradition or something, they battle a lot of insecurities, this, that. So a girl child, it's important that if you're a daddy that's present or whatever, or even a mom, tell them they're beautiful. Tell them you love them. Tell them. I remember my brother was saying one day that I think I had put on, because I was very slim all my life, but I put on weight. He was not saying, when you were slim, your legs, oh God, you had very, very beautiful legs. And I said, why didn't you ever tell me when I was slim that I had? And my brothers, when they are on me like this, they are harassing me. My neck was long, ostrich, But now what you say, it doesn't, maybe because of those boys, it doesn't move me. I'm just trying to emphasize that as parents, especially your girl child, tell them if they are good, tell them your boys, you're handsome. Do you know you're so handsome? Things like that. When they know from home, I think they take this out. Like you said, self-esteem starts from home.
It makes a lot of difference.
It does.
They believe you.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
If you tell your children you love them, they believe you. So say it. Say it over and over.
You should.
Yeah.
This is one important thing I just really wanted to talk about. There was a time you talked about being depressed.
Yeah.
So what happened? Is there something you want to share?
I can just go over it really quickly. Yeah, I went through a bout of depression. It was really, that was why I went into therapy.
Okay.
So it was really bad. And I think it was a combination of so many things. It was a cocktail of things that just, it's like one more drop and the cup spills over. So kind of situation. It was new to the country, figuring out marriage. It was my past. It was just a bucket that was just full, that just needed an outlet. So I was really depressed. I was going through that motion. That I don't know if there's anyone listening that's been through depression. You just don't want to get out of bed. You just want to sleep. Do you know that sleeping is part of your brain's way of shutting off so that you don't experience life? So I realized that I usually would go to bed really early, and when I wake up, I want to sleep again. And all is because my brain...
And it's no fatigue or anything.
No,
it
was my brain trying to escape my reality. It was, so that was what was happening at the time. And I of course, at some point, I thought it was medical. They were like, there's nothing wrong with you or your blood panel. Everything is fine. Then my doctor now said, you know what, maybe you should see a therapist. And that was how I went into therapy. And honestly, I started to feel better once I started talking about it and trying to unpack what exactly can be triggering all of these things.
One question. Why didn't you think to talk to your husband? Or you didn't even see it as a solution at the time?
My husband was there, but he was also trying to figure out what is wrong with you too. So we couldn't put words to what was happening to me. So he couldn't help me than just to pray for me. And I think his prayer was helping me find the right help, which I eventually did. So depression is real, is very real. I had depressive thoughts. I had suicidal thoughts. I thought maybe that sleep, those were part of the things I was being explained to. Aside the science behind your brain wants to just sleep, it also shows your mind also you just want to die so that it will just end. You know, so all those depressive episodes, thoughts and everything was very strong. And therapy helped me to unpack those emotions. There were some I knew was only Jesus that can fix. It was not just about talking about them. The pain is only Jesus that can fix through forgiveness, through walking the path, through insisting on God's word. Where after a while, I discharged myself from therapy because I then created my Jesus therapy. And what I mean by Jesus therapy was then after I understood what was happening. You know, sometimes you can't go into battle if you don't even know who you're fighting. So therapy for me was helping me understand who I was fighting. And when I was done, I then resumed Jesus therapy and just insisting on God's word, confessing scriptures. And then
at least knowing what to target at and things like that.
And that was how I was able to walk through it.
Okay. Has being a woman of faith helped you navigate life? Will you attribute anything to it? Life, work, anything?
I don't think I've mentioned anything here that doesn't have to do with my faith. My faith is...
Well, you just said Jesus therapy too, right?
Yeah. it's my foundation because I realized, like I said about daddy issues, that the ultimate daddy is Jesus. And having Jesus as that daddy, getting my affirmations from him, mirroring my life based on what he has said about me was the ultimate. So the moment I was able to get to the point where I think, you know what, there's somebody that loves me to death, you know? And every time the first time I wrote that down in my journal, it changed everything because I had a daddy that died that could not love me after he died. But I have Jesus, who is someone that can love me even in death. Even if my eyes are closed in death, he's right there. I'm like, okay, this looks like a sure one, and I'll stick with this one. So my faith is a bedrock of everything I do. HR, I see it as a ministry, an opportunity to interact with people, help them, pull them, advocate for them. And I say it every time. I've led people to Christ in my office, both at home and abroad. So, because I see it as a ministry. Real estate, of course, I've done that. You know, enter into a street and say, Jesus, we need a house on this street. And it comes to market, you know.
So basically the bedrock.
Yeah, that's my faith is everything.
How did you navigate being successful here in Canada? I know it probably usually people come here with hope. It's not like you have a job from Nigeria or anything. So just quickly, how did you become who you are today? I know you're successful in HR. I know you're successful as a realtor, as a pastor. So just a summary of that journey. Okay, before you go, so the reason why I wanted to touch on depression is I know people, number one, we're not even aware, Nigerians, if you're depressed. But she's a pastor. She became depressed. If you have these feelings, it doesn't mean it's the end for you. It doesn't mean you're not strong. It doesn't mean you don't have a strong personality. It just means life is happening, right? And that's not the end. There's always a way out.
Yeah.
So
There are so many
just wanted to.
Bible characters that were depressed,
Right?
And when my heart is overwhelmed, it leads me to the rock
that is higher than
that is higher.
So, yeah, I just wanted to chip that in. All right.
Thank
So,
you.
just something for someone to learn, with what strategies did you use? Like, what did you do? Positioning yourself? Is it reaching out to people? Is it networking? What was it?
I think the most important thing is to walk with God. And I'll say it very sincerely, because I cannot say I read 10 principles of how to. I'm being honest. I never did.
I don't ever believe those things. I don't know why. That's fine.
But I know days that God will just say, Kemi, go do this. And I do it. And everybody speaks about it. And it looks like, oh, she's a genius in my mind. I'm like, I'm not. So I think the Holy Spirit is my cheat sheet. Of course, there are some basic things you have to do as well. Well, one of my main principles, and I think I can close on that, is you need to give God what to use. So if you want to be something, you have to give God something to use. You want to be a millionaire, you have to give something.
You
God
just
something
sit down
to
and
use.
sleep and wake up.
Exactly. You have to give something to use. And those are the tools, the skills you're learning, the competencies you are improving. You have to give something to use. God will not rain dollars from sky. No. But even if he wants to bless you with an idea, he has to make sure the skills can produce the results you want. So part of the things that I've always learned, HR and everything, is to give God something to use. I learn a new skill, get my professional certification, make sure I have my master's, make sure, I make sure I have all the tools. I will not say, God, oh yeah, which one are you going to
So it's not just you waiting for God to come down to do magic. You have to do your part as well. And that's important. Looking back, what would you have told your younger self about self-esteem and pursuing your dreams?
I think now, if I remember, I would have said, chin up. I would have said, you are beautiful. I would have said, God loves you absolutely. And looking for affirmation from humans never pans out well. Affirmation from even your spouse, it never goes well. It's only God that can offer what our heart desires, what our heart really wants. The absolute pure love that we want is only God that can offer it. And if we keep looking in different places, we'll still keep hitting that wall, that limitation. So I think I would have told my younger self, look to God. Chin up. You're beautiful. You're talented.
The future is bright.
The future is incredibly bright.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much. It's just been beautiful, beautiful conversation here and lots of points. I have picked a lot of things. I hope that you guys have as well. And I want to say thank you so much for taking out time to be on this episode with us. We do not take it for granted.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you too. Thank you too. Thank you for sticking with us till the end. And I hope you've been able to pick one or two things. And until next time on Live Couch with Seedy, like, subscribe, share, and a comment or two. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.